All right, so we've seen the videos. We got people out here living in their cars. We got people quitting their jobs. They're waking up to the truth of what 9 to 5 is. And a lot of people are just waking up in general. They're able to start to notice that all the stuff that they were taught as kids were just taught to them by people who didn't truly understand what reality is and what's going on and what the point of life is. And so, millennials and Gen Z to some extent were pulled into like the human obstacle course, especially like in the United States. You're born, you got to go to school. It's like written into the law. So then you do that. And then you go to high school, and then you go through all the drama of high school and being a teenager. And then, and when you're a kid, you're trying to like learn what this world is that you were just born into without a manual. And then the people teaching you don't have a manual either. They're just telling you kind of what they did. And they're basically just programming you with what they've extracted and got from other people. So we're all just it's basically the blind leading the blind. If you really want to boil down what the stage of human development is right now for most people, especially even in first world countries like the United States, where it's just the blind leading the blind. We're doing things that make us survive, but we haven't stopped yet. We haven't figured out like, well, wait a minute, why are we surviving? Is it necessary for us to survive? Are we supposed to be here? And you might say, well, obviously, yes, of course we're supposed to be here and survival is a good thing. Yes. How could you ask such a question? And it's like, okay, well, I mean, if you personally say yes, then that's fine. I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm just pointing out the fact that you may have never even considered that question before until I mentioned it just now. It's not obvious that just because you were born that you should survive, that any species should survive. I mean, many species come to this earth and maybe they enjoy life, right? We have species of like the white rhinoceros, I think. They just went extinct. Those rhinos probably enjoyed life, probably enjoyed running around in the fields, eating good food, having sex, and having little rhino families. and now they're gone. So does that mean that they should have existed, or that there is a certain way that they should have lived? All of the meaning, back to humans now, all the meaning that we ascribe to life is just basically guesses, and all the guesses sort of loop back around into the survival structure. I'm trying to think of a good example. It's counterintuitive and stupid, or a lot of people consider it to be counterintuitive and stupid to, live a life of crime, as an example. But like, that's not counterintuitive or stupid to a person that's doing the crime, because that person they're inside the same system. Everybody else in the system is trying to survive. So what are they doing? They're like, oh, well, I don't have the stuff they have. And yeah, they're telling me I should go to college and do all these things, but the money's not there. So to them, the only logical thing for them to do is to survive as best they can. Even if they were to listen to the greatest sages and the greatest modern thinkers of all time, and the greatest leaders of all time, even if they took all that advice and wrote it all down, it still doesn't change the fact that their position within this game of life is different than the people who gave them the advice. A lot of people that make it, what we call making it, the kind of quote unquote American dream success, wealthy, hot wife, hot husband, whatever the ideals are, this doesn't mean that other people are going to have the same experience. This is that success fantasy. We have a huge success fantasy in the United States. Success is not something that you go and discover within the universe necessarily. It's mostly a human construct. Because the word success is loaded. The word itself implies that there's failure. So if success exists, then its opposite, its shadow, also exists, which is failure. So people who are successful can't even be successful. They wouldn't even be able to use that word unless failures existed. So by definition, if success exists, there must be people who fail in order to create the contrast necessary for a successful person to know that they are successful. And all dualities work this way. So success is basically a lie. And don't confuse what I'm saying for a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. The government's not planning anything. Individual wealthy people aren't necessarily planning anything at this scale. The cabal and alien life and all the different conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are just us trying to justify the fact that everybody is just winging it, all the way up to the highest leaders like the president of the United. Everybody's winging it. We don't know what the fuck we're supposed to be doing. We're just surviving. And sometimes survival, takes on really ugly forms. Like, oh, well, in order for me to survive, I need to blow up this country over here. That's at the nation state level. As an individual, you might say, well, in order for me to survive, I gotta be in a house and I gotta have a lock on the front door and I have to have a car because I gotta get places to go buy food. And you might want your legacy and your existence to be acknowledged after you're dead. So you might say, oh, well, I gotta have kids, or I gotta have a girlfriend or a boyfriend to let my story live on. A tiger, a lion, a cheetah doesn't know why they exist, but what they do know is that they're hungry and they probably love running through the fields and living a good life. Those creatures also love life. So paradoxically speaking, it's actually love of life that creates all of the pain and suffering. And it's hard to see that because if you can't see anything outside of your own perspective, life can get very depressing. It can disillusion you quite a bit. It can make you very nihilistic. I'm getting ready to get on the road with no destination in mind. And this is another counterintuitive move for me. So I learned this concept of counterintuitivity from actualize.org, which is a very profound catalog of some of the most advanced personal development topics there are. And I got a little bit of a bone to pick with personal development, but everything, even toxic and bad things, have good things in it. Sometimes your toxic boyfriend had really good dick, right? Sometimes that toxic girl had really good, kitty cat. So with the personal development, there's some good things that come out of it. Counterintuition is one of the, it's a strange personal development tactic because it's you just do the opposite of the most logical thing. Like, for example, I have this Skydive Chicago hat on. It's because a week ago I went and jumped out of a plane and skydived, which is counterintuitive, right? Because your body and your mind is like, it's like at the bottom of the list. Like, the last thing you want to do is jump out of the plane or insert any other dangerous activity. And it's 100% counterintuitive to life itself to put it on the line to do something like that. And so getting on the road is also a counterintuitive move because, I have a family that loves me, and I lived on my own for like a decade, and then I came back home recently after realizing that all my money, even though I was making more and more and becoming more and more successful, all of it was just going to rent and insurance in the car. It's like everything I do is just to help perpetuate the society we live in. And so you don't actually like really get ahead. You mostly just kind of like feed this giant pig that we call society that just grows and gets more and more toxic and greedy over time. And so basically recently I've just been like thinking, well, it doesn't make any sense for me to go back into, like, what am I going to do? Why Why would I go back and get right back into on the hamster wheel? Why would I go and personally develop myself for the means of participating in this societal matrix? It doesn't make any sense. I'll just be jumping right back into the game. You know, a lot of times I see a lot of people on YouTube telling their stories. You know, you'll have a good job and then you'll lose that job, or you'll be in a good relationship and you'll lose that relationship. And then what does everybody in society do? Oh, you can bounce back. You're gonna learn lessons from this, blah 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 blah. Right? The kind of personal development mindset, which is fine. They mean well, right? They just want to help that other person realize that they're not going to be down forever, and that part is good. But then what ends up happening is the person who's going through the struggle, they build themselves back up stronger, and then what do? They hop back into a different game of society. So they kind of go to a slightly higher level, but they don't ever really completely break out of this trap. So they might lose that job and then hop into maybe starting a business or a better job, like a higher paying job or something. Or they might have a breakup, and then what do? They start going to the gym, and then they kind of hop into the camp of like, I'm happier alone, the kind of like really stoic singledom. We have a lot of that right now, especially in the United States. A lot of very proud single people who say they're happier, and I hope that they genuinely are happier. I don't know. I didn't ask all of them, so. But what I'm pointing at is, you know, sometimes, you know, life beats you down so sufficiently, but then people come in with their ideas of how you should move from that moment. And so you have that bounce back, and then you end up just jumping right back into the game somehow. So for me, it's like, so what's the move? I've been down many times, and I've bounced back many times, but every time I bounce back, I'm just right back on the hamster wheel. And yes, you could start a business. You could become an entrepreneur. You can make YouTube videos like I'm doing right now. I'm working on a course. I'm working on a book. I write articles now. I do all kinds of stuff. But in a way, all of this too is still just the little games that we play as humans within a first world country. It's just more of the game. Yeah, eventually the society is going to move to where people are basically, each individual person is going to be their own corporate entity, I think, in the maybe near or far future. You know, because that'll be just the way to go. It won't even be possible at some point to live off of a job. So at some point, enough people die off. The new generations that are born are just their way of life is just going to be, oh, you do this, and then you start a business, and then, you know, you live your life from there. So those transformations and stuff will happen within society, but it'll just be the new hamster wheel, because nobody is questioning the foundation of like why we continue to do it this way. And we do it this way because we want to survive. It's all a big survival game. And then once we master survival, then we want pleasure, because humans do basically a very limited set of activities. You're born, the game is survival. You get that figured out. The next thing a human wants is comfort and to avoid pain. That's what society is getting to now. So that's what humans do. We avoid pain and we seek comfort. And that's how society in a first world country, it just continues to go and follow that trend. But I'm tired of avoiding pain and seeking comfort. You know, I want to enjoy a fuller gambit of the experience of life, which is why I had to go jump out of that plane, for example. Which, go watch that video if you haven't seen it. The video editor actually put some copyrighted music on it, so I actually removed all of the sound, so you won't hear me talking in that video. But what I say was, I mean, it's mostly private anyway for friends and stuff, so you don't need to know all my deeper reasons why I'm doing it or whatever. But you can see me do the skydive. even with doing so much consciousness work and attaining enlightenment, although I wasn't able to stay there permanently, and having multiple awakenings, I've done definitely over 100 hours of meditation, a lot of self-inquiry, and basically mindfulness 24/7. I'm always enjoying and accepting the present moment for what it is, but also questioning exactly what it is. Just basically getting in tune with the true mystery of life. Even though I broke through to the mystery and I understand the mystery is infinite, so there's always infinitely more that I could discover. But that's the focus for me. It's like, well, first and foremost, I'm here to enjoy whatever the experience itself is. Because we get so wrapped up in success, in dating, in survival, that we forget that being is underneath all of that. That's the thing that's primary. Everything else, like existing, is the cake of life. And then everything else is just cherries that we use to decorate that cake. Icing on the cake, as they say. The cherry on the top. And so while I get my mind ready to get on the road with no destination in mind, my mind is kicking in a lot, like, it's asking the questions, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is the voice in my head. Where are you going? Do you have enough of this? It's definitely flashing images of doom. It's calling me stupid and all this other stuff. But when this happens, you have to realize what the alternative is. It's either you go into the fire, you step into the fire willingly, or you stay on the hamster wheel that society has you in. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. It doesn't, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense if you just want like a comfortable, easy life, but I've learned that the comfortable, easy life is the hard life. That is the hard life. The comfortable, easy life is the hard life because it will weigh on you emotionally. Deep down, just as well as I know, we all know that we're here to explore our being. You are God cosplaying as a human. And that feeling inside of you that's tired of your boss, that's tired of your job, that's tired of the grind and the hamster wheel, and then you fall off the wheel and everybody wants you to personal development back up so that you can come back as a stronger hamster on the hamster wheel. That's all they're doing. That's what personal development is focused around. It needs to be focused on you living a full life and appreciating all of your experiences, the good and the bad, and understanding and inquiring into your existence and challenging God and saying, what am I and what are you? That's what it's about. It's about enjoying the mystery, poking at the mystery. It's about being present. You can't not be. That's the most fundamental thing you are, is that you are. And then everything else is extra. So when you're tired of all this stuff, it's like, at what point do you just step in and say, wait a minute, I am the authority here? Remember, think about like very contrarian people. Of course, now I can't think of any examples. I mean, somebody like Martin Luther King, who's just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna go. He used his gift of speaking to talk about things, to talk about the truth. Like, hey, he had a dream. He's like, I'm not understanding what the segregation thing is, right? Who are other Harriet Tubman running away, like, running away. That's like one of the most counterintuitive things you can do sometimes, to just leave. You ever had like a job that was just so corrupt and so toxic from the inside out, like from the work inside the facility to down to the customer transaction? Like, it's just toxic. The whole existence of this place is toxic, and you hate it, right? Because that's what you really care about. And you hate it. You don't like working there. I met a lot of people over the years that will not leave a toxic job, and their reasons are valid. And that's what's funny about life. It's like the mind gives you perfectly good reasons not to quit your job, perfectly good reason why you shouldn't jump out of a plane. What if the parachute doesn't come out? What if I bump my head on the helicopter or the plane before I jump out? All the things that could happen. What if I don't get another job if I quit this job? Exactly. You're ruled by anxiety and fear. And the anxiety and fear only exists because you choose to participate in society. And on some level, you don't have a whole bunch of say in that. I've done that. I've had many jobs, despite my own pretty impressive resume. I remember I managed an auto shop in Texas, and as the general manager, and I managed the individual shop for 2 years. And so when I got ready to leave, some of my colleagues didn't understand. I was a very high performer, top 10 in the company, in the entire country, and a lot of my colleagues didn't understand why I was leaving. They're like, okay, surely Brian makes a lot of money. Obviously, he's on the road to being promoted. And there was some bureaucracy and drama and some behind the scenes hatred and prejudice that I didn't find out until like a year later. But anyway, towards the end of my time working there, I just remember there's always a motorcycle coming by when I got something important to say, no matter where I go. It's an older guy. He's enjoying life over there. Maybe I can. Love to see it. Let's see. Yeah, the company made a series of strange decisions. I'm not going to go through all of the decisions they made, but I started losing confidence that they even knew what they were doing. And it's situations like that when you have like physical proof, like the CEO himself has designated you among the top 10 in the company out of over 500 men and women. It would be weird if your career wasn't moving the way that it should be. Imagine being in the what is that, like 5%, top 2 to 5% or something like that in the company. Imagine being that high up and not getting the raise you need or not getting the promotion you need. That could be devastating, because where do you go from the top? And a lot of you have been that in your job, and your boss or the or corporate or whatever is preventing you from moving forward somehow. And you deal with it because you've been taught that you need to earn everything and that other people are the authorities. Like, oh, well, I need to prove to not only do I need to prove to my immediate supervisor, but then the girl above him needs to be impressed, and then so on and so on, all the way up this chain. And that's part of being inside of this thing we call society, is that it's a impression-based society. So you you work your ass off and work hard, become the best. And this is how, I thought it was so funny when videos and stuff a few years ago, like around when COVID started, about quiet quitters. And being me, being a chronic workaholic, a true workhorse in any work that I do, being that kind of guy, and then watching the disrespect of other people like me being called quiet quitters, like, no, there's no such thing as a quiet quitter. The very idea that the term could even be invented, that it could even be thought of, that somebody is quietly quitting, that means you haven't thought deep enough about why that person's quitting. If I'm a manager and I see one of my top performers slacking off, I know there's something affecting that person. This isn't just a person that just woke up and was like, you know what? Fuck everything. Like, I'm just going to ruin everything. Nobody does that. Quiet quitters exist because they were exhausted. They were exhausted. They've been working their ass off, and that wasn't good enough to get them what they needed to get in life. Needed to get in that job, I should say. So the whole concept of quiet quitters I thought was funny. It's like, so instead of just taking responsibility for having a robust corporation that doesn't drain the souls of people, especially your good workers, and so instead of just taking accountability for that, instead we're just going to create a new word in order to shame the people that finally woke up and realized their worth. That's what happened. That's what it is. They realized their worth, and that's the last thing that they wanted you to do. People know your worth. They just hope that you don't know it. I saw that quote online somewhere. It's a beautiful, simple quote. A lot of times you go through life and you feel crazy. You're like, did this person just say that to me? Or did this situation just happen? And you have people cheating on you, and they expect that you don't know about it, or that you can't tell that it's going on, and all these types of things. People know how much you're worth. They just hope that you don't know how much you're worth. And as long as you don't know, well, they can keep exploiting you. I remember when I left the job I was telling you guys about, and my boss came to me and was like, I can't believe it, and so can't believe it, and so can't believe it. I was real popular in the corporate scene towards the end as well, because I had been training to move into corporate. So a lot of people knew me, and after that year having ranked in the top 10, when my notice came out, people were like, I don't understand. It's like, what's there not to understand? I asked for something that I'm the only, me and the other people in that top 10, anybody in this top 10 list out of 500 of us, are more than empowered to go ask for what we want. Obviously. Obviously. Because we already know that that we're the best, because you made the list. You compiled the data and you found out that these people were the best. But yeah, so it's like, why would you come to me pretending like this has benefited me in some way? It's like, yeah, I posted all this money for the company, but notice how that has nothing to do with my growth. It has nothing to do with me unless you make it worthwhile for me. And that's what my conversation is about. When I want something and I've given you something, it's time for you. Your instant reaction needs to be yes. And this is, see, when I'm a manager and I see good talent, right? Because I'll be at like the front line level, like at the store level. I promote people. That's why I ended up being a good manager. Even people that say that I'm strict because I do like to have structure, those people stay working for me. They come to work every day and they know I got their backs. They know I have, I'm going to take care of the problems that come up. They know that I'm not scared to say no to my bosses if I need to, and that I'm going to do the right thing. And that counts for a lot. But It just always seems that whoever my supervisor is doesn't have that vision. They don't have that robust sense of leadership. I'm gonna end this video here. I don't know how long I've been talking, but a lot of topics here. I'm a little ADHD, so I'd be all over the place. I think we started off talking about the point of life and all that. Definitely go check out the skydiving video. Taking a lot longer than I thought to get some subscribers. If you guys want somebody who's going to be speaking truth, I got a lot of free stuff coming out because I'm starting to realize that this is the move that needs to be made. Very low cost and free stuff is where we need to move to. We're never going to solve poverty through capitalism. It's never going to work. Because right now the move is like, what does everybody tell you? Oh, you just got to, you got to get in on the pie. You got to start your own hairstyling company, start your own skateboard, making your own skateboards, whatever. But all that's going to do is keep perpetuating survival. So then everybody's going to start making different products. And that will sort of even things out a little bit. But really the move is we need to start integrating and caring for people that just aren't gonna make it in the same way that other people are gonna make it. And some of you guys watching are some of the people that maybe you tried to start a business or you did something and it didn't work, and instead of just personally developing yourself to death so that you grow, start thinking about the greater systemic issue and the fact that even if you make it, then there's still a bunch of people that don't make it. And the move isn't for you to then make a course to teach those people how to dig themselves out. The move is to rescue those people. We can't have people out here. It's 2025. We can't have our fellow man out here struggling to survive. Like, oh, you just don't want it. So if your family can't eat, you just don't want it. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're a fellow human being. Both of you guys just popped up on Earth. And you're telling this other person, fuck your survival? It's your own species? I'm not saying you need to go give them all your money, but don't trick them into thinking that this is a personal development issue. This is like 20% a personal development issue and 80% other issues. Right? Personal development itself is such a gigantic industry that, it's foolish to say that it's producing the results that it could be. I mean, I have faith that personal development could do it, but it's not structured right. Everything is like, here's a course on how to make courses. And so what do you know now? Well, now you know how to make a course about how to make courses. No actual value is being produced out there. It's all survival mindset. It's when we need to get to a point where we're moving past this survival thing. And we're not going to do that by making people struggle more by saying, oh yeah, well you just don't make it because you don't want it. You don't want it enough. This is so silly. I promoted people as a manager. It's like a lot of people would never be promoted or never move forward in some jobs that I was at if it wasn't for me. The universe, other people have to work with you as well. It's not just, you don't have 100% control over every little independent aspect of the universe. In fact, you have so little control that it would shock you to discover the extent to which you don't have control. So the fact that a lot of things do work out in our individual lives, we could almost call them a miracle. It's amazing how often things do work. But of course, that's in comparison to how much and how often things don't work. Right? Just because you make it out of poverty, just because you finally get your stride, doesn't mean that other people are going to get theirs, because it's not really set up that way. I mean, of the people who have done a lot of personal development and achieved a lot of success, even you can admit that, like, how many people are going to do all the hard work that you did to do the same thing that you did? And if everybody just dropped everything and started doing that, nothing would even get done. I don't know. Life is a complex system made up of other complex systems. And if you know anything about systems thinking is that systems start to develop their own unique behaviors that there is basically emergent behaviors. Just trying to think if I can think of an example. Hookup culture is a good example. It's a complex system made up of other complex systems, because you have hookup culture, and then around that you have like society, and you have like biological drives, which is already a complex system, and society is already a complex system. Gender dynamics is a complex system. Apps and technology is a complex system. The tendency of the subconscious mind to believe anything it's told is a complex system. This is why reading memes and quotes and Facebook statuses and posts from people is actually sort of corrupting your mind, because you can read some stuff. You can read 20 posts and kind of innocently go by them and think that it doesn't affect you. Yeah, it doesn't affect you consciously, but your conscious mind only handles 3% of that, 3% of reality. So your subconscious mind, which handles the other 97%, is processing what you read, even if you don't consciously do it yourself. And the subconscious mind believes basically everything it comes into contact with. So it's there taking in raw reality, and you are taking in sort of a filtered reality. 3% of you. The 3% is the part of you that's listening to the video. The other 97% is doing other stuff in the background. So what I'm saying is subtly programming you, maybe in good ways, maybe in bad ways. This is why it's a very good idea to get diverse perspectives. That's a great advice. Not only is counterintuitive activities in life great advice, but getting different perspectives is also good. Sometimes you just got to listen to other perspectives and let them creep into the subconscious mind, so that once your mind takes all the new data, it starts to say, wait a minute, what is this life thing? Wait a minute, why am I working this job? Wait a minute, why this, why that? And the questioning process, although painful, starts to break you free from all of your prior programming. And slowly over time, after a bunch of pain, it slowly starts to liberate you. And so that's a great path for personal development that's not talked about that much. Deconstruction, not adding more shit, not taking more courses, not getting 2 and 3 jobs, not getting a nicer car, not any of that. Just deconstructing your mind and saying, okay, what's me, what's not me? And really doing it at a high level. That's why consciousness work is so is so good for you. It sucks, but you know, psychedelics, meditating for fucking 20 hours straight or something ridiculous. These things break your mind open. Skydiving, these things, you gotta make your mind face something that it really doesn't want to face, because it has to be tamed. Your mind is like a puppy that never grows up. That's a good description of the mind. In spiritual circles, they call it monkey mind. That's the voice inside your head. That's the thing that gives you thoughts. It's not you, by the way. So that puppy that never grows up, you just training it its whole life. And you got to stay on it. All right, I'm gonna stop here.